Hi students, I just wanted to give you a little video about creating your greeting cards. I'm going to start off with first figuring out what envelope I'm going to use. Now I do have some extra envelopes around the house, these kind of larger ones. But today I want to show you how to make your envelope out of this template, just in case you don't have any envelopes lying around. Now, if you don't have a printer to print out this template, that's okay. You can look at the one online and try and recreate it on your paper. Print it out here, you can kind of see exactly how big it is. This edge right here is 5.5 inches long, and this edge right here is 4.5 inches long. So you want to kind of measure that as you are making your template if you're doing it from scratch. If you're able to print it out though, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut out our envelope. Now we only want to cut along these outer edges. Everything else is going to be a folding line. All right, so once I have everything cut out, like so, I can start folding along those inner lines. And you can either fold it where those are hidden, or you can fold it the other way so that you can see the line that you're trying to fold along. I use my finger to kind of flatten those creases. And then I'm going to go and fold the next one. And my final one. And now I don't want all of these words to be on the outside of my envelope. So what I'm actually going to do is where I've already folded, I'm just going to fold them in. And then what I will do is I will take a glue stick and I'll put glue along these different edges so that my envelope will stay together. And once I have made my card, I will put glue along this last edge and close it off. On the front, I'll address it and I'll put on a stamp to mail that out. So after you know what envelope you're going to be using, then you're going to need your paper to make a card. Now, I would suggest maybe seeing if you have a little bit of a heavier stock paper. But if you don't, you can still just use printer paper and it will still be a wonderful piece of art that somebody will receive. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that your paper will fit in your envelope. So right now I can see that my paper is a little bit bigger than the envelope. So I'm going to want to cut that down, and I'm actually going to trace so that I get it cut down correctly. So what I'm going to do is open up my envelope. And inside here, there's actually some dotted lines that show you how big you should make your card so that it'll be able to fit into the envelope. If I make it the exact same size as the envelope, it's not going to want to fit in. So I'm just going to mark this right side where I need it to be shorter. And then I'm going to slide it down to the other edge of my paper. And again, mark where that end should be. See, I kind of continued this measurement onto my paper. And then I'm going to take a ruler or a flat edge and connect those two marks that I made. So just to show you, you can find almost anything with a straight edge. Here I have kind of a beading thing. I'm going to find my measurement on both sides and line that up with it. It's got a nice straight edge, so I can just use that as a little makeshift ruler. And I've got a nice straight line. that I can cut out. My paper. The next thing, so obviously, right, we're still too long. And greeting cards, we're going to want to have them folded in half. So I'm going this way and I'm going to be folding it this direction. So what I'm going to do, you can either just fold it in half and then trim off the extra, but I want to maybe save the extra paper and use it for something else. So I'm going to measure. So I'm going to line my paper up with the dotted edge on this side. I'm going to give myself a little mark here at the top, and I'm going to kind of shift it up a little bit and give myself a mark here at the bottom. And I know that's going to be my middle where I'm going to fold my paper. So I'm going to move that. Well, here. Why don't I just fold it? So my paper's kind of thick, so it's going to be a little tricky to fold. What you can do if you've got pretty thick paper is you can score that edge, which scoring kind of is a little bit like cutting, except for you're not going all the way through. So I'm just taking my scissors and I opened them up so that I can use the little sharp blade. And I'm going to lightly trace along that edge. And not sure if you can see, but now I have like this little indent along there that's going to help me when I go to fold my paper. So it's folding in this nice straight line. That's a really great technique if you've got kind of bigger paper, but you got to be careful not to press down too hard or else you might end up cutting your paper. So now that I folded it in half, it's going to be really easy to cut this second side. I'm just going to double check. Yep, looks like it's going to fit. And I will follow this edge. And there you go. I've got my nice greeting card and I've got a little scrap paper I can use to practice my watercolors on, or test some fonts out on, or just make another piece of art with. I'll set that guy aside. All right, so just double checking again here. Yay, my greeting card's now gonna fit inside my envelope. So my next step is to start making my artwork. So I want to make a little greeting card that just says, thinking of you, and I'm going to send it out to one of my friends so that they know that I'm thinking of them on this crazy, crazy time we're going through. So I went to fontspace.com and I typed in thinking of you because that's what I wanted my card to say. And then I started scrolling through their fonts, finding one that I really liked. And I came across this one called Amsterdam. So from there, I can look at this font and how it looks and recreate it on my paper. Now I am going to give myself a little bit of a guideline so that maybe my words will all kind of go together. I'm drawing really lightly because I'm probably going to erase these guidelines. So I want to do thinking of you. So I'll look at here, kind of zoom in and write my word. All right, once I've planned out my words, now I'm going to erase my guidelines. And kind of any extra marks I made that I don't need. And then I'm going to be doing kind of a glitter watercolor pattern in the background. And then when that's dry, I'm going to go over my pencil words with a marker. Just in case my marker isn't water soluble or non-water soluble, I don't want it to be bleeding out. So I'm going to do my watercoloring first. And so for my watercolor, I've got here my cup of water. I've got my little glitter watercolor palette. And I'm going to wet my watercolors and wake them up. The colors I want to use at least. I also have this little jar of purple liquid watercolor that I should be pouring into another container and using it from there, but I don't have one right now. So I'm gonna just doing kind of like an abstract thing. So I'm not exactly creating. If you want to kind of protect your inside, especially if you've got a thinner paper, you can open up your card. You can even put paper towel underneath this or another piece of paper. When you are painting with watercolors, you want to always make sure that you don't mix your colors in your palette. So if you're going to be combining colors together, you should have another plastic tray or even a plate that you're mixing your colors on that you can then clean off your brush in between. Right now I'm doing the wet on wet technique to kind of blur out those edges, blur that purple together with my glitter. Can also kind of create some designs. I have some watercolor pencils that I'm gonna use to add kind of more of a detailed part of. And you can see as I paint over them, they kind of bleed out a little bit more. Once I have areas that are dry, I can kind of get some more layered look instead of the blended look. Maybe if I want to add some kind of pops of gold that don't necessarily bleed in with everything else. All right, so this time I'm going to go ahead and let this guy dry so that I can then go over it with the markers for my thinking of you. All right, so my last step that I need to do now that my card is dry is to go over my words with my marker. I'm using a Tombow pen, but you can use Sharpie, you can use Crayola markers, you could just go over it deeper with pencil, whatever you have available at home. All right, so there you go. There's my card all decorated and ready to go. So now I can flip onto the inside, write a nice little message to my friend, put it in my envelope, and send it off. I hope you guys have enjoyed this little tutorial lesson and that you are having fun making art at home.